And today we have Abe here to help me demonstrate the 5 most common wraps that you're going to do on your horse. Your first wrap is going to be a standing bandage. You're going to use a standing bandage mostly after shows or things like that. You use them to keep down swelling or any issues like that. Your second bandage is going to be a stack wrap. This is going to be used if you have a horse that has an injury on his upper forearm or something like that. The third wrap is going to be an injury or a wound bandage. That's going to be used mainly under a stack wrap if he has an injury on his lower leg. The next bandage that I'm going to show you is going to be a foot wrap. That's going to be used if your horse has an abscess that you're soaking or if he's lost a shoe or something like that. And the final bandage I'm going to be showing you is a polo, which is used for exercising your horse. Okay, so the first part you want to know about bandaging is to make sure that you're always safe and cautious when doing it. When you're bandaging a horse, if you need to go down on one knee, that's fine. However, you should never ever bandage with 2 knees on the ground, as this doesn't give you accurate leverage to get away from your horse in case he starts to freak out or do anything like that. If you do have a horse that tends to lift his foot a lot when you're bandaging, you could always do leg lifts just to keep his foot on the ground so it's easier to get your wrap on there and have that taken care of and not have to worry about him kicking you or anything like that. You also want to make sure, especially if you have a horse that likes to pick his leg up a lot, that you're not putting your face in front of their knee because they can pick up that leg and smack you in the face with their knee, and you definitely don't want a black eye from doing that. One more thing is to make sure that if you're doing wraps, you know how to do wraps, because if wraps are applied incorrectly, you can cause bandage bows and things like that, which can make a lot more issues for your horse than what you started with. So make sure that if you're doing a wrap, you know how to do a wrap, and if you don't know how to do a wrap, it's probably best if you don't, or you find somebody else that knows how to. Okay, so the first wrap that I'm going to show you today is a standing wrap. What you're going to need for a standing wrap is a pillow. You're going to need a track bandage, and then you're going to need masking tape to finish it off with your wrap. The first concern we have when doing standing wraps on a leg is to make sure that your leg is clean and dry before you start. You never want to wrap a wet leg unless you're trying to do a pressure wrap to stop bleeding or something like that. You also want to make sure that before you start, your pillow and your track bandage are wrapped tightly, so that way you don't have to have any mishaps in the middle of your wrap and then have to start all over again. So for him, I'm going to make sure that his legs are spread far enough apart so that way I don't have to worry about me not being able to fit my pillow in between his legs or something like that. So you're always going to start on the inside, and you're going to go inside to outside, and then you're going to go front to back. And you're always going to be starting with like this S shape right here, so you always want your horse's leg on the inside of this S. Once again, pinning off his leg, you're going to start on the inside and go around the front, and then coming from the back. And you want to make sure that you're keeping these moderately tight. It depends on where your injury is, where exactly you're wrapping, or if there's a specific area of swelling that you're trying to keep down. You always want to make sure that you're pulling your wraps tight as you go, just so that way you prevent any wrinkles or anything like that, because you don't want to cause any bandage bows. Remember to keep even pressure across the front and back. Don't be pulling too hard. And then, once again, as you go, continue to smooth out your wrap just so there aren't any extra wrinkles or things like that. When starting your track bandage into your pillow wrap, some people like to place it under. I've never been particularly good at that, so I prefer to put it over and then just start my wrap like that. And you're going to go in this full circle, make sure your track bandage is covering itself, and then you can do any adjustments that you need to do wrap-wise or pillow. And then you're going to start in the middle of your cannon bone like I just did there. And then you're going to go all the way to the bottom of your wrap. And you're going to leave about a ½ inch below at the bottom just to make sure that your wrap isn't coming onto the leg at any point, because that could cause cording or bandage bows. And so like right here, you're going to kind of help with that lock. And then make sure that you leave this nice ½ inch of padding at the bottom just to prevent any injuries from too side of wraps coming off, slipping off, and then wrapping around your fetlock or anything like that. And once again, when you're doing your wraps, you want to make sure that when you're coming through here, you're overlapping your bottom lap by half. So you should be overlapping by 50% each time. And you want to make sure that throughout the leg, you're having even pressure and then even laps. Where you start may depend on how long your wrap is or how long your horse's leg is. He has fairly long legs, so. And then continue to smooth out any wrinkles that you may get in your track bandage. And then make sure that you're feeling the inside with your hands, just so, I know you can't see it, but just so that way you know if there's any wrinkles or issues on the inside of that. And then you're going to do your Velcro. And then once again, just like on the bottom, I left about a ½ inch of wrap up here, so that way it doesn't cause any cording or anything like that. And then to finish it off, you're going to take your masking tape. You're going to apply it to the outside. Leave a little tab so that way it's easier to take off when you're done. You're going to go around the inside. And this masking tape, you're just lightly laying on there. You're not pulling any tension in it, just because this doesn't have any give and it's not very elastic. Well, it's not elastic at all, so any tension in there can cause cording or bandage goes. And that masking tape is just to make sure that your Velcro doesn't come undone in the middle of the night and have your wrap laying around your horse's stall unless this can cause injury or something like that. And when you're done, you want to check your pressure on your top and your bottom, so you're going to make sure that you have enough pressure and tightness to keep down any swelling that you may be focusing on or anything like that. Okay, the second wrap I'm going to show you is going to be an injury bandage. So what you're going to need for this is you're going to need a pillow and a track bandage. You're going to use masking tape to finish that off when you're done. The bottom layer, however, is going to start with a Telfa pad right here, and then whatever ointment you want to use. We're going to use Chlorhex because that's what we most commonly use here. And then you're going to need either white or brown roll gauze to hold on your Telfa pad. So in order to start your injury bandage, you're going to take your Telfa, and you're going to remove it from the packaging. And then to keep this sanitary, you're going to take your Telfa and you're going to dip it directly into your ointment. So I like to fold it in half like this and then dip it in, get some ointment on there. And then if it's only covering a small area like this one is, you can rub it around a little bit just to spread out your ointment. And Abe here is not injured, however, for this demonstration we're going to pretend that he has an injury on the front of his cannon bone right here. So you're going to take your Telfa pad and you're going to just stick it on your injury, so right there. And it should generally stick to the injury fairly well. And then after that you're going to take your roll gauze and then you're going to grab a pair of scissors. And you're going to take your roll gauze and you're going to go inside to outside, front to back. And you're just going to lightly roll this on here. There shouldn't be a whole ton of pressure, but it should hold your Telfa on at the very least. So you're going to go around there a few times, making sure you're not leaving any big wrinkles. And that you cover your entire Telfa. And then you're going to cut your roll gauze. And then make sure you set your roll gauze where it won't get dirty, just to keep it sanitary and make sure that the next person can use it without cutting a whole bunch off. After those first basic steps of your injury bandage, you're going to make sure that your roll gauze is on a sanitary item, so that way it's not getting dirty, and then you want to make sure you reclose your ointment so that way that's not getting dirty or knocked over or anything like that. After that initial stage is done, you're going to do just a regular standing wrap over your injury bandage just to hold all of this in place and make sure that
you have some padding on there so he doesn't bump it on you. So once again, you're going to start on the inside. You're going to go inside to outside, front to back. And then when you do these, you want to make sure that you're keeping it even pressure all the way around, top to bottom. And you want to make sure that you're pulling it to smooth out any wrinkles as you go. And then once again, when you start your track bandage, you could start it under here, but I'm not very good at it, so I start it on the outside and then just go roll back. And then make sure that you smooth out any extra wrinkles or things like that, so that way your wrap's even all the way around. And then once again, like on the standing wrap, you want to make sure that you have about a ½ inch of padding left at the bottom and at the top when you're done. And then make sure you feel along the inside of your wrap, just to make sure, because you can't see that side, you just want to make sure that there aren't any wrinkles that you're missing or causing any issues on there. Make sure that you line up your Velcro and then finish it off with some masking tape. So you're going to make a quick tab so it's easier to get off of your horse when you're done. Hold it over itself, and then you're going to stick it to your Velcro and do a very gentle lay-on of about 2 to 3 spirals, just depending on how much your horse messes with his wraps or something like that. Once again, when laying on masking tape, make sure that you're just laying it down and not putting any tension in it, as it isn't elastic at all. So any extra pressure right here could cause bandage growth or things like that. So the last step of your injury bandage is going to be to add elasticon to the top and bottom. This is going to prevent any debris from getting in there, and it's also going to keep your bandage in place so that way it's not moving up or down your horse's leg. With elasticon, you want to make sure that you unroll it and then re-roll it back on there, like that. And this just makes sure that you're not having too much tension in your elasticon, as this is a very non-elastic structure. So it does have some give to it, but there's not enough that you would want to put too much tension on your wrap, as you may cause cording or bandage bows or things like that. So when you do this, you're going to do the exact same way you did your stack wrap. You're going to start inside to outside and front to back. With elasticon, you're just going to lightly lay it on there. You want to have it half on your wrap and half on your horse's leg. And then you're going to lightly roll it on. And then make sure it sticks to it. Once again, your elasticon is here to hold your bandage in place, and you just keep debris out of it. It's not there to hold down any swelling or anything like that. So to make sure that it's not too tight. And you may have to go get a new roll, but you want to make sure that you apply elasticon to the top and the bottom of your wrap. So once again, unrolling it like this to get some of the tension out of it, and then roll it back up. And then you're going to start inside to outside and then front to back. And then halfway on your wrap and halfway on your horse's leg, just so that way you're holding it in place and keeping any debris out. You're going to cut it. Scissors. And then wipe tightly stick it to itself. And these will hold your rack in place and make sure that it's not moving anywhere and keeping any shavings out as they roll overnight or something like that. Okay, so the next wrap I'm going to show you is called the stack wrap. Stack wraps are going to be used when you have injuries that are higher up on your forearm. The exact location of the injury is going to determine what size your pillow wrap is going to be on the top. So for him, I have a shorter one in case his injury is lower, something like this, so that way we're not affecting all of this when we don't need to mess with it. So what you're going to need for a stack wrap is 2 pillows, so I have one here and one on the ground there. And then you're going to need 2 track bandages. With the track bandages, you're going to have one shorter to do your anchor phase, and then you're going to have a longer one, which is down there, to do the actual stack wrap itself. You are going to need a longer track bandage, as you're going to have to go from the middle of your top phase all the way down to the bottom and then back up to the top. So it's going to take a lot of wrap. So your first step in doing a stack wrap is going to be a standing wrap. The only difference between this and a regular standing wrap is you're going to bring it down a little bit lower to create more of an anchor phase in the bottom, and then you're going to make sure that your top section right here that's below the knee is going to be very smooth and flat to create a shelf to set your second wrap on. So it's going to be the same thing right here as a standing wrap. You're going to start inside to outside, and then you're going to go front to back. And once again, I'm starting this one a little bit lower than I did my standing wraps, just so that way I have more of an anchor phase down at the bottom. Once again, you're going to make sure that you're smoothing out any wrinkles as you go. And this wrap, it's especially important that this top is level all the way around and that you're creating a good shelf for your second wrap to rest on. Alright, so once you have your pillow on, you're going to take your track wrap. This is going to be your shorter of your 2 track wraps just to do your standing bandage. And you're going to go inside to outside, front to back. Once you have that first loop in, you can start messing with your pillow to make sure it's where you want it and that there aren't any unnecessary wrinkles in there. Once again, you're going to apply even pressure from all angles, so that way you don't get any unnecessary wrinkles or anything like that, and you're not causing issues like cording or bandage bows. Like I said, the main difference on this wrap as opposed to just a regular standing wrap is it comes down a little bit lower, and when you go to do your bottom portion, you want to make sure that you cup the fetlock really well, so that way your standing wrap isn't being pushed down by the top half of your stack wrap. So you're going to cup your fetlock, and then you're going to go back up to the top of your standing wrap right here. And once again, just like a standing wrap, you want to make sure that you're having that even 1/2 inch on the top and bottom left over, so that way you're not going to cause any cording or bandage bows if your wraps slip off. Once again, making sure to check the inside for any wrinkles with your hand as you go, just because you can't see that part. Cool. And then you're going to Velcro that off. As you can see here, I've left that 1/2 inch at the bottom and 1/2 inch at the top. I've made my top really even, so it's going to be a lot easier to set my top of my stack wrap on this shelf that I've made here, and then my anchor phase is tighter, so that way it's not going to slide down his leg and onto his fetlock, or onto his fetlock. And then for the second half of your stack wrap, you're going to be using, like I said before, it depends on where your injury is, what size pillow you're going to want to use. I have a shorter one here as if his injury were lower, maybe on like the inside of his forearm right here. And then you want to make sure that your track wrap is a lot bigger and longer. So you're going to make sure that when you start this, you're going to be starting in the middle of your stack wrap and going all the way down to this bottom part here and then coming all the way back up. So you're going to need a lot of extra track wrap. So for this, you're going to start your rock or your pillow on the inside, you're going to rest it on this shelf right here. And you're going to go inside to outside. And then front to back. And you want to make sure that there's even tension around all of this. It is going to be a little bit more difficult to get this one even tension-wise because it's in an awkward spot on the leg, and the knee is obviously going to be smaller than your forearm. But just get that as even tension as you can. And then you're going to hold your end there. And then you're going to take your big track bandage and you're going to start right over the top of this. And you're going to go inside to outside, and front to back. You want to make sure that you're smoothing out any wrinkles as you go, just to prevent any bandage bows or uneven pressure or anything like that. So you're going to start from the middle of your top phase right here, and then you're going to go all the way down to the bottom of your standing wrap on the bottom. You want to make sure that you're creating even pressure all the way down. And with these wraps, just as you did with your standing or your injury bandage, you want to make sure that when you're doing your laps, you're covering at least 50% of the lap above it. So you're going to go all the way down to the bottom. Cup your fetlock right here, and make sure that you're still leaving that half-inch of padding on the bottom of this wrap, and you're going to go all the way up to the top after this. Make sure that you're creating even laps on your way down as you are on your way up, just so that way there's no uneven pressure throughout your round. And then just like with your standing wrap, you want to leave your 1/2 inch of padding on the top, just to make sure that your wraps aren't sliding over the edge of that, causing any bandage bow or cording or things like that. And then like these wraps don't have Velcro on them, so you want to make sure for sure that you have your masking tape ready to go. So I already have mine, and I already have a tab in it. So I'm going to stick that on the end of this track bandage right here. Bring it all the way around. Once again, not creating any tension on it, just wrapping it around to hold my bandage in place. And you're going to tear off the end of that, make sure you leave a tab on there so it's easy to get off. And then you have one final stage. It's going to be adding elasticon to the top and the bottom of these wraps, just to make sure that you keep out any extra shavings or things like that. This is especially important if there's an injury underneath this stack wrap, just to keep any debris out of there and prevent any. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my elasticon and then my scissors here. You want to make sure that when you do your elasticon, you're just lightly laying it on there, as it's not very stretchy. It has some give to it, but not a lot, so you want to make sure that you're not going to cause any cording with that. So what I like to do is I like to unroll them beforehand, and then roll them back up so they're not quite as tight when I go to lay it on there. And just like this, you're going to do this half on your bandage and then half on the horse's leg. This is once again to hold it in place, and to make sure that you're not going to get any extra debris in your wrap. Make sure that you don't get any wrinkles in here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but there shouldn't be any major wrinkles, just to prevent any messiness in your wrap or anything like that. And you're going to cut this. Make sure you're holding that in so it doesn't go anywhere. And then you're going to set your last one down and lightly lay it on itself. And then you're going to do the same thing to the bottom of your wrap. You may have to pull out some more elastic. Once again, you're going to start on the inside and go to the outside, and then front to back. You're just going to lightly lay it on there, just to prevent, once again, any debris or any movement of your bandage or things like that. That is the final step of your staff bandage.
Okay, so the next wrap we're going to be doing today is a foot bandage. Foot bandages are used when horses have either pulled a shoe or they have an abscess that you're soaking. You can either do foot bandages wet or dry. If you're doing a wet bandage, you can have Epsom salt and betadine mixed in there, and then just put that on your diaper and then slap it on your hoof and then wrap the bandage like you normally would. Right now, Abe's just missing a shoe, so I'm just going to do a dry bandage. So what you're going to need for your foot bandage is a diaper, duct tape, vet wrap, and then possibly scissors if you need to cut a slit in it to make it looser around the coronary band. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your duct tape and create a duct tape grid. So this is going to go over your vet wrap, so that way your horse doesn't walk through your vet wrap while he's either standing in a stall or going to turn out or something like that. So you're going to start that by taking strips of duct tape, and I like to stick mine to my jeans, so that way when I actually go to do my foot wrap, I don't have to hold it or anything like that and worry about sticking it to other things. So I usually go about four wide and 4 long, just because that fits the average horse's foot. So I'm going to go 4 this direction, and then once I'm done with my 4 this direction, I'm just going to go the other way to create the grid effect. If you have a horse that's going outside or doing turnout or things like that, you might do more than 2 layers. However, Abe is just going to be standing in his stall, so I'm only going to do about 2 layers to keep him from walking through any vet wrap or anything like that. So now that's all done. The next step after that is you're going to have your vet wrap sitting where you can reach it, and then you're going to have your diaper ready to go. I like to take my tabs and I like to put them to the back of my horse's stuff, so that way when I could pull them around the front, I can pull them around over the top of his pastern here and the bulbs of his heels, just so that way my diaper's not going to fall off in the middle of the night or something like that. So ask him to pick up his foot. And then you want to make sure that your foot is clean. And then, like I said, you can do it either wet or dry, but he's just missing a shoe, so we're just going to do it with the dry diaper. I'm going to take it and then wrap it around the back of his foot. And I'm going to pull out my tabs and then stick that to the front of his foot on both sides. And you want to make sure you don't do that overly tight, but you want to make sure that it's tight enough that your diaper's not going to fall off. After that, your next stage is going to be your vet wrap. So what I like to do is I like to take my vet wrap and I like to start on the inside, go around in a big circle, and then cover where you started, just so that way your vet wrap stays on. Some people like to use a full roll of vet wrap to do this. I personally just like to cover the diaper because that's all it really needs to do is hold the diaper on. And stick it to itself. And then I do my duct tape, and I can just pull that right off my jeans because it's already ready to go. Stick that to my cut. I like to push the back of it down first just so that part's on, and then I do my sides, and then I'll do my toe and finish it off. And then once you're done with that, if you have some extra duct tape pieces in the front here, you can always tape those over with extra strips of duct tape. The main concern with foot bandages is you want to make sure that they're either not covering the coronary band, or if they are, it's just the diaper and not your vet wrap and your duct tape, just because if it's too tight on a coronary band, they can lose circulation and you can cause a lot more harm than good. And then, like I said, just to make it neater and make sure that those duct tape edges aren't going to come off, I like to stick a couple of extra pieces of duct tape over the front of it. Just like that. And that's going to tuck your edges in a little bit better and make sure that it looks nice and neat. If you do get your diaper too tight over the coronary band, you can always cut a slit right down the middle and the front of it. Or if you just don't like having the excess diaper there at all, you can cut that off. However, Abe's just going to stand in his stall and it's not going to bother him, so I'm not worried about it. Once again, we use foot bandages just to make sure that there's extra cushion on the hoof in case of a lost shoe until you can either get that shoe back on or you can put on your next foot bandage, and then we like to use them when we soak abscesses and things like that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be showing you how to do is a polo. The first thing you want to do when you're doing a polo is you want to make sure that you have a polo that's wrapped nice and tight, so that way it's easier to wrap on your horse instead of coming to find out that your Velcro's on the outside and it's not going to work and something like that's all messed up. So make sure that your polo is wrapped the right direction and that it's wrapped tight. The second thing you want to do is make sure that you clean your horse's leg off before you do anything, just so that way you're not getting any shavings or anything like that in it. And then you want to do your polo wraps the same way you do your standing wraps. You want to start inside to outside and then front to back. So you want to make sure that your layers are even. You're going to start on your inside, go inside, outside, front to back. And then you want to create even layers towards the bottom of your wrap. And then you're going to go all the way down to your fetlock. And then once you get to your fetlock on that last loop, you want to go down and cup the bottom of the fetlock and then come back up on the inside, and you want to create this nice V here in the front and then continue to wrap your wrap all the way back up. Once again, doing even layers and making sure you're smoothing out any wrinkles so there's no bulges or anything in your polo. You're going to take your Velcro, make sure you line your Velcro up so that way it's sticking to itself. And right there, I just got lucky and my Velcro ended up on the outside. It could end up on the inside, and then if you're worried about your horse catching it, you can always put masking tape over it in a spiral just to hold that on there. Polos are mainly used during exercise and things like that. You want to make sure that you're not wearing them somewhere where they can get wet, as they do tend to get heavy. And they're just for minimal cushioning in case your horse bangs his other leg, but they're not for any hard concussion exercises or things like that. They don't provide a whole lot of support, but they are helpful in case your horse does get little nicks on the insides of his legs.